The video might be shocking, but it's simply a ploy used by US police officers. Filming with their own cameras, they inform this woman called Dahlia that her husband's just been killed. They want to gauge her reactions as they suspect she may have hired a hitman to murder her spouse.
Is your husband Michael? Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, man. He's been killed. He's been killed, man. I'm sorry. Listen, I can't let you in, man. We have to do our job.
In fact, no killing has taken place, and the police have made up the story to try and confuse Dahlia. What they want is her confession, and a few hours later she will be charged with attempted murder. In this case, it was the cross-examination of Dahlia that led to the truth, and then eased the way to her prosecution. Among the police, the interrogation process is considered a key element of the investigation, where everything might fall into place, which explains why, in the United States, this method of investigation has been pushed to its very limits, more than anywhere else in the world. How does the interrogation take place? Is it an exact science? Can you tell when the suspect is lying? And can you trust the confessions? In the United States, everything is aimed at making the suspect crack. From the architecture of the interrogation room, it's a small, bare room that disorientates suspects and allows for physical proximity. But does it work? Tiffany Parsonson has definite views on this kind of police procedure. After a robust session in the interrogation room, she confessed to killing her best friend on the 15th of April, 1997. Tiffany received a life sentence. The memories of when she first stepped into the interrogation room are still vivid.
You know that feeling you walk into a dentist office and you smell the dentist smell and you hear it, and you just know it's going to be a very unpleasant situation. It's kind of like walking into that, except there's not going to be any needle to numb anything. You walk in there and it smells of fear, it smells of sweat. You pick up that lingering energy of people in there before, of the depression, of the anxiety, of everything. It's just like the atmosphere just clings to it, and they sit you in there. It's psychological.
At the time, Tiffany was 23 years old and a prostitute. She's familiar with the police and their tactics, but this time she's not being picked up for soliciting, but for a murder in which all the clues seem to point to her. To make her confess, the police will use the oldest trick in the book, the good cop, bad cop routine.
I remember the one explicitly well, Madden. And he was tall, approximately 6'2" to 6'4", dark-complected, overbearing. He wore jeans a lot, polo shirts, and had a very cocky attitude. The other one is kind of blurry. My memory of him is blurry. I think he played the good cop. Madden was the bad cop.
Introducing Sergeant Madden, almost 7 feet tall in his socks, years of experience, and not the kind of cop that's easily fooled. He makes no bones about his tough questioning methods. It's his hallmark.
There is a certain amount of acting with doing interviews, and especially when you're in that realm, as far as a good cop, bad cop. So for the most part, one is consoling, caring, you know, almost even putting off the other detective to the suspect, saying, you know, he's a very mean guy, he's a bad guy, or whatever the case is, trying to get closer with that suspect, so hopefully the suspect confides in, quote-unquote, the good cop.
But Tiffany is tough, and for 3 days her constant lying drives the interrogators to distraction. She makes up stories about her movements, shifts the blame onto others, and dismisses the evidence. But the police don't give up.
You get defensive. And when you get defensive, the detectives seem to jump on that. Why are you defensive then? Do you think you need an attorney? Only innocent people need an attorney. You think you need an attorney, so if I say, yes, I need an attorney, then you're saying, oh, you're guilty, so you need an attorney. Is that what you're saying? So it's very difficult.
The last interview kind of switched where I was very direct, I was very accusatory, and I even stormed out of the room, once again, some theater, if you will, to try to create a better atmosphere for the other detective.
He was very tall and very over you all the time, overbearing, and I can remember trying to like get in my chair, you know, and he'd be like, I'm sick of this liar, and he'd be this far away from my face, and I'd be like, well, what, and I'd just start saying anything else I could say.
Tiffany claims she acted in self-defense, but it's an admission that Lieutenant Madden finds doubtful.
She never told the truth. That's basically the sum of it. She never told the truth, even in the end. So.
I've never told the truth.
Tiffany played down her part in the murder. The fact she doesn't break down under the questioning of an experienced policeman shows the limitations of the good cop, bad cop method. So a far less theatrical technique is being adopted that has found favor with many American police. It's an approach Lieutenant Dolman fervently supports. In July 2006, a murder rocks the usually quiet town of Dover in New Hampshire. Laura Perkins is shot dead by Heather Stone, the woman with whom she lives. From the start, Heather Stone claims it was self-defense after Laura stabbed her in the leg. Lieutenant Dolman is put in charge of the questioning.
Heather Stone and Laura Perkins lived in the downstairs apartment. Heather had 2 children. Laura had basically an adopted child from a previous relationship that would sometimes stay with her there too. On the night in question, they'd been arguing since 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon until 2 in the morning. Just constant arguing while constantly drinking. Everybody knew that Heather had shot Laura. The question was always going to be, what are the circumstances? Was this a case of an abused woman protecting herself, or was this a case of an angry woman killing her girlfriend?
Heather Stone's interrogation begins at 6 in the morning, just a few hours after the murder. Lieutenant Dolman takes Heather Stone to the room set aside for the purpose, a cold, stark room which meets police standards.
So, this is the interview room that we spoke to Heather Stone that morning. Heather was seated here. Our camera was behind this window right here.
Heather Stone is today behind bars. 7 years on, with short hair and looking tired, she's barely recognizable. She was handed a 30-year sentence after finally admitting she had not acted in self-defense. Remarkably, video of the interrogation was made available, something that in most European countries would be unthinkable. From the very start, Heather Stone has lied to the police about acting in self-defense.
She scared me. She come at me with a knife. And just cut me. It's okay too. I got scared. But I wasn't. I was just trying to get her just to go for a little while. Just go.
The police patiently let Heather present her version of events.
And it went off.
She was vulnerable for a couple of reasons. One, she really had an obligation to provide an explanation as to why her girlfriend is dead on the floor. So she has a motivation to tell us something. Even if it's a lie, she has a motivation to talk to us. She's vulnerable because she's tired. She's vulnerable because she's emotional. She really is upset that this happened. She's not a stone-cold killer by any stretch.
I don't really even know what I was trying to do when I was lying.
Part of me thought that they'd believe me, and part of me said, no, they won't.
The police believe there are certain facts that don't add up. They then turn to a proven tactic of gaining the trust of the suspect, softening her up by taking advantage of one of her vices, cigarettes.
You have cigarettes with you?
Yes.
You have them with you right now?
Uh-huh.
You can smoke one right now.
Are you kidding? In here?
Yeah, go ahead.
What about her? How does she feel about that?
If you need to smoke one, smoke it.
I don't know if I feel comfortable doing that, though.
Well, if you wait a little while, wait a little while. If you gotta have one out, go
I
ahead.
know this ain't no little while. All right, what I will do as you command.
Go ahead.
She was surprised. She was surprised that we were going to let her smoke in here because it's a no-smoking building and a no-smoking facility. Well, whatever. You know, you're more than welcome to smoke in here. If you're going to talk to us about this murder that just occurred, I'm going to let you smoke in here.
They let her smoke in return for information. Heather, however, tries to evade the questions, something that intrigues the police.
Like I said, we usually just, if you go step by step, kind of, remembering as much as you can. That's how we just try to figure things out. Okay?
I'm trying to figure out, too.
I know.
She couldn't really explain where she was and where Heather was, where Laura was during this whole violent struggle that apparently had ensued. So they were skeptical. They were also skeptical because the injuries she had were minor scratches to her leg, not stab wounds or big slashes, but just minor cuts to the leg.
Heather claims Laura made these wounds when she stabbed her. In fact, it's a story suggested by Joyce, a friend she called just after the shooting. Joyce also helps Heather change the location of the crime to add weight to her assertion she acted in self-defense.
She put rings on and punched me in the face, and then I cut my leg. We thought that would get me so I wouldn't go to jail.
Those are things we need to know.
The gun wasn't being held like I'm shooting a vehicle.
The police urge Heather to provide more details, and she falls into the trap when she tries to act out the scene.
It wasn't even intended to go off. It was just like up in the air a little bit. I'm short, so I'm standing like this. I'm up like this.
Okay, where is she?
I'm just holding it.
She's standing here?
No, actually, I'm standing right here.
Okay, she's standing here?
Go over there one.
The police want to force Heather into providing the exact details, something they know full well is a nightmare for those who are lying.
At least.
Okay, so where's the gun?
In my hand.
How? I mean like this?
No.
Okay, so how is it? How are you holding it?
Just stupid.
Okay, so you got it like low?
Yeah.
Just-
Well, yeah, but the barrel's high.
Okay, so you got it at an angle? And that's what I'm saying,
I was so emotional that I couldn't even really grasp their questions or even answer them. I was trying to, but I was lying at first. So they knew this, so they were trying to get it out of me. And I was so emotional that even their questions were like Spanish to me.
I know, but is she standing there just saying, go ahead, do it, just like this, go ahead, do it? That's what we need to know.
With a knife in her hand.
So how's she holding the knife?
She was daring me to, because she knew I wouldn't do it. See, this is the weird thing about it. She knew that I wouldn't do it.
The fact that she's tired probably made it easier for us because it's hard to keep up a lie. It's very easy to tell the truth over and over and over again. The truth is the truth. You just tell the story about what happened. If it's the truth, all you have to do is tell the truth over and over. If you tell lies, you have to work to tell lies. You have to work to construct something that didn't happen.
But after 2 hours of questioning, the detectives know they're getting nowhere and move on to Plan B. They pretend that Joyce, the friend who suggested the self-defense ploy, has confessed to everything.
Detective Watkinson says, listen, Joyce has already talked to us. We already know everything that Joyce has told us. Well, we didn't know that. I had talked to Joyce. She'd lied to me. Now, while we're talking to Heather, we're re-interviewing Joyce. Detective Harrington, who had been in here, is now interviewing Joyce. But we don't know what she's saying. We're stuck in here with Heather. So that's a bit of, that's quite frankly a lie.
Exhausted and betrayed by her own lying, Heather finally caves in after 3 hours.
Believe it or not, you're going to feel better if you tell us the entire truth.
Because I don't want to lose my kid.
I understand that. I understand that.
One of the things I kept saying to her is, she would talk about her children, and she was afraid she would never see her children again. Her children would grow up without a mother. And my point to her was, you know, what's going to look better? What's going to work out better for you? If you come in here and lie to us about the death of your girlfriend, or you tell us the truth.
In the long run, look better.
If I lose my kids, my life is over.
Heather?
I just figured this is it. I might as well just tell the truth.
What else did Joyce tell you to do?
Kill myself.
You did that afterwards, right? When you were sitting on the couch.
I wasn't sitting on the couch, I was sitting on the floor.
All right.
Because I knew I did a mistake. She said it. Look, oh, look good. You guys will put me in prison if I don't do something. I loved Laura.
And at some point, you went in and got the shotgun and loaded it and came back out. And when she saw you with the gun, she's yelling at you, go ahead, do it, do it.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have done it. I didn't sleep on me and I feel like freaked out. Oh my God. What I do, what I do. You should have seen the way she felt.
They went through a lot to get the truth. I went through a lot to tell them the truth. I told them exactly. I told them how I remembered it. But I wasn't in the right state of mind. So I don't even remember what I told them.
Heather says she has no regrets about having finally admitted the truth. She still has 24 years of her sentence to serve. It's every investigator's dream to get the suspect to confess after questioning. The quest for the truth is a holy grail for every policeman and investigator. And since the 1930s, scientists have tried to create an infallible lie detector machine, or polygraph. It detects human reactions through captors placed on the arms, the chest, the fingers, and under the buttocks.
Now, Danny, remember, a yes or no answer to each question. Were you born in the month of May?
Yes.
Did you steal that watch from the Post Exchange?
No.
Any abnormal physical reaction can be interpreted as a sign of lying. To find out more about polygraphs, which were considered to be a form of truth serum for so many years, we seek the opinion of Dave Bryant, a Florida-based policeman who specializes in their use.
One of the people who did research on polygraph was the guy who is better known for creating the comic books Wonder Woman. His name was Marston. He was a physician, and he wrote comic books on the side. And what's interesting, if you know anything about Wonder Woman, one of the tools that Wonder Woman had was called the lasso of truth, where she would put a rope around the bad guy, and that caused him to have to tell the truth. Well, the lasso of truth that he uses is literally this, the blood pressure cuff that we use today that goes around the subject's arm. sort of a misnomer. The instrument is a polygraph instrument. It's recording physiological data. It doesn't detect lies any more than a cardiogram detects heart attacks. It's up to me to analyze the data that I record with a polygraph instrument to determine if a person is being truthful or deceptive. As you see it rise to the line, that's an increasing blood pressure, okay? So on this question here, for example, this was a controlled question. This is a lie, okay? The subject answered no, which is why there's a minus sign there. And you'll see that there's a rise in blood pressure, very subtle rise in blood pressure, but it's there. It's clear to see when I put the line there. There's certainly an amplitude change here. And also you'll see that his breathing changed from the normal respiration out here. At this point, he actually stopped breathing slightly during that question. That's a controlled question that we know was a lie.
Dave Bryant defends the tool he uses for his work, adding the majority of police departments and even the CIA use the polygraph. In Europe, however, it's banned because of its unreliable results. Steve Drizin is a law professor in Chicago. He's an expert in interrogation techniques and has been able to obtain the freedom of several suspects on death row or serving life sentences after their alleged confessions. He's one of the polygraph's fiercest critics.
They hook the person up to this machine. They tell them that this machine is infallible, that it's objective, that it's neutral. It doesn't know you, this machine. It doesn't have any stake in whether or not you're innocent or guilty. And when they fail that polygraph test, or better yet, when they're told they failed that polygraph test, it brings them down to a place of hopelessness where it's easier to get them to confess. And we have numerous cases where police officers lie about polygraph results and get innocent people to confess.
Knowing the polygraph is not always dependable, scientists have been urgently researching brain, eye, and voice patterns instead, so far without much success. The human spirit seems capable of resisting even the most determined efforts to extract the truth. Enter Reid, a private company based in Chicago that has set up a method based largely on human psychology. Today, it's the largest company in the world dealing with interrogation techniques. Staffed by former detectives, it has trained almost 350,000 police officers. The company uses videos to show the 1001 ways to make a suspect talk.
Let me ask you, did you force her to have sex with you?
No, absolutely not.
Did you take the money from the man?
Hey, man, I've told you, I had nothing to do with this thing, okay?
Did you sell any drugs last Saturday night?
No, none at all.
Reid claims that after its training programs, police officers will be able to spot lies in almost 85% of cases. It's a remarkable claim, but despite its apparent success rate, the company has turned down all requests to be interviewed. It might be because of Steve Drizin and other experts who severely condemn its theories as simplistic and its methods as overly coercive.
All the studies show that people can't detect deception at rates better than a coin flip, maybe slightly better than 50%, okay? They're leaving these trainings thinking that they can detect deception at 85%. That's just hogwash. But it drives the interrogation in a way that it makes it much more likely that they're going to obtain false confessions.
Reliable.
But Reid has taken note of such criticism and has improved its methodology by asking instructors to be more prudent when it comes to the signals that could be interpreted as lying. Nevertheless, the videos still teach the same controversial process of recognizing lies through body language.
A deceptive suspect may orient his body away from the interviewer in a non-frontally aligned position. Deceptive posture is the rigid posture. The suspect is so preoccupied with his deception that he appears frozen in the chair and even unable to move.
The purpose of an interrogation, unfortunately, all too often is not about getting the truth. It's about getting a confession. So innocence is taken off the table. And then over time, the interrogator will give the suspect two choices. One in which the crime that the suspect committed portrays the suspect as a monster. And another path, the crime is accidental. And over time, after his denials are rejected over and over again, the suspect will choose one of those two paths, because one of those paths leads to leniency and the other one leads to greater punishment.
It's a choice that allows no room for the innocent, and one that Frank Sterling had to make more than 20 years ago.
I used to like coming down here and see fox once in a while, deer, and just come down and just enjoy a nice walk in the nature. Exactly what happened that day, I don't know. But a woman got killed at 74 years old. And back then, it was big news in Hilton. 2.5 years later is when I got arrested for it.
How old are you?
28 years old.
And how long did you spend in jail for
18 and a half years in prison for a crime I did not do.
The crime is that of Viola Manville, a 74-year-old woman found dead on the 29th of November 1988 along this dirt track. Dozens of suspects will be questioned and all will be released, including Frank Sterling, seen in this photograph. 2 years later, detectives trained by Reid reopen the case and are convinced Frank is guilty. A few years earlier, his brother had been sentenced to prison for raping Viola Manning, and Frank Sterling is thought to have wanted revenge. The police are relentless and press Sterling until he cracks. On the 11th of July 1991, an exhausted Frank Sterling admits to the murder. His confession is recorded. Many years later, the murderer of a 4-year-old girl is arrested. He also confesses to the murder of Viola Manning, and traces of his DNA confirm the fact. Frank Sterling is released on the 28th of April 2010 after serving 19 years. Now aged 54, Frank has become frail and anxious and finds it hard to talk about his feelings.
Good. How are you? Doing good. Good. April 28th, 2010, the day I got released.
Do you remember this day?
Oh, yeah.
What do you remember?
Freedom. Yeah, so
Frank Sterling obtained his freedom largely due to the vigorous efforts of his lawyer, Donald Thompson. But the question remains, why did he ever confess to a crime he never committed?
And police officers don't beat people anymore. I mean, it just doesn't happen, really, in the course of interrogation. Why? Because there's been this enlightenment? No, because the psychological techniques are more effective in obtaining confessions than physical abuse.
Want some coffee? Yeah.
In the case of Frank Sterling, only his confession was filmed, but the video speaks for itself. The two policemen had applied the Reid method, as well as some of their own making.
You're our guest.
Here, they're offering coffee and donuts to prepare Frank Sterling for his final declaration of guilt. But what had gone on before?
My favorite kind. I like those too.
I remember the back rubs and, you know, massaging the shoulders and just trying to be all buddy-buddy and, oh, we're here for you, you know, just let your anger out. And it's like, and I was sitting there basically saying to myself, well, I try to let my anger out and let you know that I didn't do it. You're not listening to me. Over and over. And it's like, okay, I'll give you what you want.
Well, and they had this weird interrogation technique in your case that I've never seen before or since, where they're rubbing his feet and rubbing his back and having him lie on the floor and put his feet up on a chair and whispering in his ear. You know, picture yourself out at the crime scene. Now picture the victim. Here she comes. What do? You know, all this kind of really hypnotic kind of suggestion.
The video of the confession is just the acceptable face of what had happened during the interrogation.
You did have an occasion.
To help Frank admit to the crime he didn't commit, one of the officers is rubbing his shoulders, while the other is holding his hand.
As best as you can, and I know it's tough for you, but as best as you can, what happened? And it's okay to cry.
You're gonna have to speak up for me though, okay, Frank?
Man.
Sort of like you're floating. You be sitting in the chair, but you don't actually feel like you're sitting in the chair. No weight on your shoulders, no sores, no aches.
So like an out-of-body kind of thing?
Yeah.
Why does someone confess a crime that he didn't do?
Out of pure exhaustion. You know, plus being so tired, you know, I only had like 4 hours sleep, you know, for the 3 days, and it's like, I just wanted to go home and go to sleep, you know.
And fall down?
Yes. After I kicked her.
Frank, as best as you can remember, and I know this is difficult for you, okay? Did something happen with that BB gun?
Yeah, I started hitting with her.
Okay. What else?
Fired shots.
Do you remember where you fired it at?
No.
Okay.
Can't be specific, but you try. What do you think they are? No idea. What else happened after that? We understand it's difficult.
We understand it's difficult, Frank. In a rage, did you take her pants off?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't hear you. Yes.
This form of questioning shows how an innocent man can be made to confess with no recourse whatsoever to violence. Psychology has thus become a powerful weapon in the hands of the police, and Frank was one of its deliberate victims. To prevent any possible excesses has given rise to a new kind of specialist, the lie expert. It's even inspired Hollywood and its popular series, Lie to Me.
Oblique eyebrows, an upturned lip. The smallest
The psychologist helps resolve crimes by observing body language and facial expressions.
It may be human nature to lie, but the truth is written all over your face.
Stan Walters has been a lie expert for the past 25 years.
I like to say I'm taking a little trip inside the swamp of their brain. And I'm wandering around in that swamp, and I'm finding the rotten stuff and trying to drag it out for deceptive people.
Walters crisscrosses the United States to spread the basics of good interrogation techniques to the police. His unique methods upset many other theories on lying, including those of his peers.
Here in Texas, they did a study on interview interrogation training, and they tested their officers' ability to spot deception. And they sent them to 2 training courses. Then they brought them back and tested them again. What they found, of the 190 officers, none of them got better. They didn't improve after 2 courses. So they looked at the content of the courses and found those courses were perpetuating the myths.
Stan Walters campaigns against preconceptions and received ideas.
Very little body language has anything to do with deception. Crossing arms, what else? Twiddling the thumbs because the hands are locked, yeah. Holding hands together, crossing legs, sitting on hands, wrapping feet around the chair, holding on, crossing the ankles under the chair. No correlation to deception, none. Possibly stress, but there is no difference whatsoever. The amount of eye contact liars make compared to truth tellers. There's no connection. Now the myth of eye movement, looking left, looking right. I know I'm swimming against the tide, and I got academies that hate me for this. Then kiss my ass. because they're doing you a disservice teaching this shit again and again and again. Trained officers who thought they were great at spotting lying perform worse than civilian population that had no training in deception. Which tells you what about training? Teaching the wrong crap. Rubbing the back of the neck.
His method is to gather a bundle of clues based on behavior and language, which could indicate a suspect may be lying beyond any stress he may be feeling. He uses well-known people such as Bill Clinton, here seen lying to the entire nation, when he claims he never had sexual relations with White House intern Monica Lewinsky.
I never told anybody to lie.
There wasn't so much as deception here with President Clinton, other than there were some symptoms that told us he wasn't being totally open. One, he refers to Monica Lewinsky as that woman. That's a very typical depersonalization. It's a way of separating oneself and being above or outside the realm or better than that. The other one is his emotion, and you see again his appearance, facial expression is of hostility, of anger. Then a split second when he turns to walk away, watch for the smile.
Not a single time, never. These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people. Thank you.
Switch from anger to a smile.
Another is Courtney Love, suspected of being a drug addict.
No.
You were on nothing today?
No.
No heroin?
My God.
Well, I'm going to ask you all the questions that people think. No more heroin?
No,
Finished?
no.
With Courtney Love, you'll see shock when she's asked about the heroin question, which is a good stress marker. You'll see her aversion of body away. You get multiple no answers. And she gives a good, strong cluster of behaviors that we believe is consistent with somebody being deceptive. And later we know that she has had a long history of drug abuse.
You are on nothing?
No.
So the first question is very general. You're on nothing today? No. And then Barbara's going to ask a more pointed question. Now you see her react. No more heroin, and see her body jump.
You were on nothing today?
No.
No heroin?
See her exaggerated facial expression, the large eyes from a shock response to the question. This one stuns her. So if I were the interviewer, that means I would follow up on heroin questions. That's a signal to me of incriminating potential.
My God.
Well, I'm going to ask you all the questions that people think. No more heroin?
No.
Now watch her body back and away from Barbara and multiple no answers.
No. Prozac? Prescription drugs?
Didn't work. The Prozac didn't work.
And you notice we haven't really answered the heroin question. She goes back to Prozac. Then she'll ask her very pointedly, have you ever done drugs in front of your children? And watch the huge reaction again of an apparent cluster of behaviors of deception.
Ever do drugs in front of your child?
My God. What a question.
Now to make sure that I'm not looking for myth. Again, body language has got a large margin of error. So I'm looking at groupings. I'm looking for it to be consistent. So each time the heroin issue comes up, do I keep getting these powerful responses? Do I keep getting similar cluster behaviors of dynamic stress or cluster behaviors that we think are at some point consistent with deception?
What Stan Walters criticizes the most is the obsession the police have with obtaining a confession at the cost of the investigation. This is what happened in the little town of Camden in Arkansas in early August 2006, when the body of 11-year-old Kaylee was found in this small house. She had been suffocated using a plastic bag. After a botched investigation, detectives determined the murderer had to have been inside the house. In fact, only Kaylee's mother, Melody, and 12-year-old brother, Thomas, were inside. When the police arrived, Melody was hysterical, while Thomas seemed quite calm. Dorsey Corbin, Thomas's lawyer, believes the police became fixated with his behavior, which they judged as too calm, and convinced them that Thomas had killed his sister.
The first thing that went wrong is that as soon as the police got to the house, they decided Thomas had committed this crime. That was their first error. And then everything they did after that just compounded the error.
Thomas was 12 years old at the time. Today, he's 19. Under police pressure, he confessed to everything and was sent to prison. The Supreme Court would overturn the sentence 2 years later, after details of his interrogation were revealed. The video recording of the interview is appalling. The pictures caused the worst police scandal in the history of the state of Arkansas.
My call. What's your name?
Thomas called in.
Thomas?
Yeah.
Thomas, I'm with the state police, and I've been kind of listening to some of the story that you've been telling, and I'm going to tell it to you just like it is. You're an intelligent boy, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, we're pretty intelligent too.
Okay.
And the bottom line is, nobody broke in that house last night. There's no indication of any break-in.
Okay.
So your sister died, and there was only 2 people in the house that could have killed her.
Okay.
You or your mother.
Okay.
That's the only way it can be, boy. There ain't no other way.
Okay.
You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now
The tone is set right from the start. The police never question Thomas about his movements or the facts, but are relentless, convinced of his guilt, a basic error which should never happen during questioning.
I was scared, didn't know what was going on, didn't know what to do. Just everything was moving so fast, and we just sat there for hours not knowing what was going to happen. I was lost.
It's no longer an interrogation, but a never-ending series of accusations.
Now, that would leave a man of normal intelligence to think what happened.
Mm-hmm.
What?
That I killed her.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all I want to know, I really want to know why.
Why what?
Why you would kill your sister.
I want it.
But you had to. If your mother didn't, that just leaves you.
Well, I didn't kill her. I know I didn't.
You know you didn't?
Yes, I know I didn't.
Well, then how did she wind up like that?
I don't know. I seriously don't know. I didn't kill her.
You killed your sister.
No, I didn't kill her. I didn't.
It'll feel a whole lot better if you just tell me.
I didn't. God. I didn't kill her. I did not.
Then who killed her? It had to have been you, son.
Thomas will deny killing his sister 36 times.
I didn't. I didn't kill my sister. Is there any way I can prove that to you?
It's going to be difficult.
I didn't do it.
And I'll tell
They told me it was either me or my mom, and I had complete trust in my mother to protect me and my sister at all times. So she couldn't have done it, and the only way it could have happened is if I had done it. So I thought the police were telling me the truth, so I just thought I did it, and I didn't remember doing it. But it was just got so confusing, I just couldn't take the pressure anymore.
The police used the smallest details of the boy's life to further incriminate him.
Do you have a problem with anger?
Yes. I'm on medication for it.
What do you what?
I'm on medication for it.
Okay. Good. What do you take? You know, offhand?
No.
Okay. Did you have a problem with anger last night?
No, I was perfectly under control. I was having fun playing my game.
But I really think that to help you, you're going to have to help yourself. And to help yourself, you're going to have to get rid of this guilt.
I didn't kill her. That's all.
Why are you crying for?
Because you're accusing me of something I didn't do. You accused me of killing my sister.
Most kids would have confessed to this crime a lot sooner. It's absolutely amazing that he was able to withstand their badgering of him as long as he did.
And you just need to cut all this other crap out.
The constant harassment has a name. The police call it, quote, cooking over a small fire. The officers leave the room and leave Thomas to stew on his own. There's no need for physical pressure as the suspect's imagination runs wild as to what would happen if he doesn't confess. The tactic works inside the mind of the 12-year-old kid.
I was shaking, nervous, sweating, crying. I was just having an emotional breakdown.
Confused by the accusations, Thomas begins to break down.
For a while there I did. I thought maybe I blacked out, and because the cops, I didn't think the cops could lie to me.
I used to be so nervous. It's a fact. Okay. You know I didn't do it. So who did? I'm your mom. The only explanation to make, okay. But this ain't nobody came in. So I didn't do it. Oh, why she wanted to do it? Why? She got the thought, doesn't she?
After more than 1 hour's cross-examination, the police have still been unable to make Thomas confess. So they turn on his mother, Melody. She's bipolar and hasn't taken her medicines for 6 months. But the police focus their questions on getting her to point the finger of blame at her own son.
When we went in the room, he didn't, he hollered, and then he went and he got the phone like I asked him.
What did he holler?
He just screamed.
Okay.
And then he went to get the phone, and I was talking on the phone, and he's telling me, calm down, you need to come out of here, and, I didn't want to go
Did
out.
he act like it was a big shock to him?
I don't remember, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because it just, I wasn't.
It was a big shock to you.
Yeah.
But you don't think it was a big shock to him?
If it was, I didn't notice.
I thought she was going to protect me because she was my mother. I thought she was there to help me, but she betrayed me. She betrayed my trust and just pretty much threw me to the cops and said he did it.
When he found it, he broke my windshield on my car because he was mad because I wouldn't let him play the PS2. I just don't speak to him as often because he scares me sometimes when he does that little thing.
As his mother condemns him, Thomas's interrogation continues, this time off camera.
After a while, Thomas finally says, I'm hungry. I haven't had anything to eat all day. And then they turn off the tape and they take him in the other room. For the next 3.5 hours, they interrogated Thomas, just like they had been doing on tape, but now they were off tape. They could do what they wanted, they could say what they wanted, and there was no evidence of what they did or what they said.
An attorney entered the room, and he started talking to me, telling me that it was only me who could have done it, that if I do not confess before he left, he was going to give me the death penalty. And so he left, and I got scared, and I called him back in there. And by then, I realized there was no way I was going to leave without telling them I did it. And they were sort of telling me if I just told them the truth or what they wanted to hear, I could go home. So I gave them a story I made up. They said that didn't fit, so they added bits and pieces for me to add into my story till it fit what they wanted it to. And that's when they took me back on camera.
That's like chapter 3 of the second book.
Half an hour later, he's like an automaton that repeats everything the police have told him to confess.
Went into her room. She was asleep with the TV still on. So I put the trash bags over her head, and I held them there for a few minutes.
What do you call a trash bag?
The Walmart bag. The Walmart bag over her head, and she jerked a little bit, so I let her up. I turned off the TV, went in the living room, and got the things tied, slow her down so she don't try to kill me. Tied her wrists and her feet after pulling her arms out from under her. Then I went back in bed.
Okay. And when you found her, your mom found her that morning.
Mm-hmm.
Did you realize then that she was dead?
Yes.
And how did that make you feel?
Shocked. Scared.
You didn't think she would die?
No.
Recently, the National Chief of Police contacted me and asked me to contact Thomas regarding his interview, and they want to use it as an example of how not to interview a child. And I think that's very telling.
After his admission, the police leave Thomas on his own to confront his mother.
You want to tell her with me here?
He whispers in her ear that he didn't kill his sister before declaring his guilt out loud.
Okay, you understand? I did it. I'm the one who did that to Kaylee. It was an accident. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Then he consoles her. To this day, the investigation into the murder of young Kaylee remains unresolved. The reason the questioning of Thomas went so badly is that the police are still focusing on confessions rather than evidence. Of the 301 prisoners on death row or serving life sentences in the United States that were later proved innocent, about 90 had made false confessions during interrogations that had been wrongly conducted.